But when you read the history books of who's important, you just see like Copernicus, Newton, Einstein, Niels Bohr, you know. It doesn't even list all the other scientists in between. It's not that they're insubstantial, that they didn't do anything, they didn't contribute anything. But they're not the main ones who really, you know, are the stem of scientific knowledge, who made great breakthroughs and strides. So in the same way, our succession is like that. The ones who really stand out of being the protectors of the Siddhanta passing down. And therefore called Bhagavat Sampradaya because of that Siddhanta, Bhagavat Siddhanta being passed down. So, unfortunately, as we were just discussing a little bit with Radha Prabhu last night, that there's a lot of criticism today that the questioning at least, is this gone again, going back into that misconception of overemphasis on the Diksha line. If they are, then we're losing the mood about the Siddhanta, first of all.
He didn't put stress on the Guru Parampara?
No, he did. But as I'm saying, these great luminaries who are protecting and passing down the Siddhanta, Bhagavat Siddhanta, who their connection between each other were not by Diksha. And in some cases, like between Vishwanath and Narottam.
Almost 100 years of gap between those two.
And then between Vishwanath and the next one. Again.
That's not very controversial.
Controversial?
Yeah.
It is. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did so many controversial things. And he had to fight against it. You know, and it took decades to establish what he was doing to be respected. And practically speaking, it never would have been respected if he hadn't been so successful. Just like probably Prabhupada never would have been respected by his godbrothers if he hadn't been so successful. He also did so many controversial things in their eyes.
Was Bhaktisiddhanta able to bring people to an agreement, or he just thought that I'm going to create like my group of people who accept this fact?
Yeah, like I said, because of so much power and potency he obviously had, you know, and that he was so successful, then people had to offer respect, even if they didn't agree, and they had to back off. So, you know, if you read Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, Maharaj Bhakti Prakash Swami does this expert job of just painting a picture, clarifying how the whole history happened and all those different struggles he went through. And then after he left, again, these things are seeping back in again. You know, like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, one of his main themes was to harmonize the four Vaishnava Sampradayas and print their books. And he had deities of them, right? In Mayapur.
Yeah, in Yogapur there are 4 all acharyas there.
Yeah. So this is one of his main themes. But again, like I'm saying, now, after a certain amount of time, we see that Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, some are very strong against ISKCON, claiming that there's a connection to Madhva. They say, you're teaching something different, and we are. And Mahaprabhu said that, as recorded by Krishnadas in CC. Mahaprabhu said, the only thing, the only reason I respect you is because of your conception of the deity. Otherwise, you're off. The Tattvavadis. Tattvavadis means Madhva. They're Madhva's followers. So actually, the theology is very much different in many different cases. You know that Madhva actually believes, or he's taught, written. I think it's, in most cases I would say the followers, things have been perverted. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that actually Madhva's writings, you can actually read the teaching that there is such a thing as eternal damnation. just like the Christians teach. Now, Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't agree with that at all.
Repeat that.
That there is such a thing as eternal damnation for a jiva. Okay, like the Christians say. Gaudiyas don't accept it at all. But there's so many different differences. Actually, philosophically, we're much closer to Sri Sampradaya when you look into it. And Jiva Goswami, drew a lot in his Sandarbhas from Ramanuja. So they say, you don't teach the same thing, and you can't draw a connection. Back to Madhva in terms of diction. So they're attacking. They're making a big fuss. Not all the Madhvas. Like I say, some of them are saying, who cares? Let's not kick up the dust. Let's cooperate as Vaishnavas and preach. So that's interesting. Pardon?
You say in terms of diksha, but by shiksha there's a connection, not
Well, again, you see, they don't accept that too because they say your teachings are different. So where's the shiksha? Where's the shiksha connection if you're teaching something different? So anyway, I'm just making a point, that if someone comes, and they're starting to come now, from Madhva line, they're starting to come and preach. So someone comes, and they come to you and they challenge you on certain points. What will you say? Most of our members are not even aware of this kind of controversy, what to speak of, what the solution is, how to rebut it.
We have only quite a few devotees in ISKCON who really go into this type of detail that are able to defend themselves.
Yeah. Now they're going into that more. Just like we have this whole assembly of academics, vast Vaishnava academics. What is it? Hridayananda Maharaj in charge of them. So like that, they're especially getting into things like this. It's necessary because we, just like Gaudiya Sampradaya was challenged in Jaipur. You have no right to worship the deity. And they were challenged by members of Sri Sampradaya. So it led to Govinda Vasya, right? Baladeva to do the Vedanta Sutra Vasya. He had to substantiate. Now Mahaprabhu never thought it was an issue. Here's Vyasa's commentary. Purana. But they didn't want to accept that, and they convinced the king. What was his name, the king? Convinced him at the time so that he wanted to pull them out from being able to worship the deity because they weren't bona fide. So he came. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur was elder. He sent him at the time, Baladev, and he came to the forefront. And it's interesting because Baladev himself had initiation from Madhva Sampradaya. Then he became attracted to the Gaudiya teachings. And I believe he even took another initiation, if I'm not mistaken, from Gaudiya Guru. And he was sent by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, and he wrote this by the mercy of Govinda Dev. And then now we have a Bhashya for the Vedanta Sutra. But what if somebody comes, and it'll happen, just a question of time, and challenges us in these things? Just like they're challenging Prabhupada's Gita in Russia, that court case that was thrown out of court. Temporarily, at this point. Doesn't mean it's not going to come up again. Or in another state, Now, I don't know if where you were back in the 80s, Chakri, when the Dallas airport case was going on. They asked Justadumna, then Swami, to come into the courtroom, and a prosecutor pulled out certain things from Prabhupada's Bhagavatam purports as a means to convince the judge that we should not be allowed into the airports to distribute these books. And these were some controversial statements, okay? And Maharaj was like, put to the test. in the courtroom. So we're feeling that, yeah, we just want to conquer the world by book distribution. Get the philosophy out there, okay? But what happens if people start reading these books? It was like I was telling you, I think, the other day, how for maybe every 100 Gitas I sell, maybe one person actually reads the whole book. So what happens if people actually start reading these books? Are we prepared to defend everything the Prabhupada's saying in them? I doubt it. You know, we think we're prepared and go after them, you demon, upperati, and then we just make ourselves a nice reputation of fanatics, the Muslim and Christian fanatics. That's maybe the way we're prepared to defend them. That's not going to help. We have to be really prepared in such a way as to further the preaching, not to destroy it. See, but so far, no problem because people aren't reading. But that's a big problem that people aren't reading. But maybe that's why Krishna is making it such that, because we're not ready, you know? We have to be ready to back up everything in an intelligent way. And in a chaste way. Not just say, oh, yeah, you know, our founder Acharya, he was an old Bengali from the old school culture and this and that, and, you know, so he said some certain things about women and blacks and, you know, like that. You have to take it in stride, you know. Okay, well, we have to be chaste. We have to not be offensive to our acharyas. And at the same time, we have to make sense to these people. Or we become totally irrelevant. Big challenge. That's coming. There's no question about it.
But on the other hand, also, we talk about Gaudiya and Madhvas. We had a temple here.
Yeah.
And very interestingly, they named it Venkata Krishna Kshetra. That's the first thing. Secondly, I never heard this phrase before, but they say Hare Srinivas. I've never heard that phrase.
Srinivas meaning?
Srinivas Balaji or Krishna. You know, in South India there's a Balaji.
Babaji.
Balaji.
Balaji.
Okay, yes, okay,
Right?
yes, right, yes, okay. Okay. That's
I've
nice.
never heard of the phrase Hare Srinivas. I mean, it's take off on Hare Krishna.
Hare, right, because they don't have anybody.
I mean, that's one.
They have no conception.
The other thing is, the Hare Krishnas are chanting in a place like Kazakhstan, you know, where it's completely 99% Muslim.
It's what?
99% Muslim, where there are temples and activities going on. And we can't say that they are not reading the books or doing the practice. In other words, these Madhvas, the other people cannot even get there. They're not going there at all. So I'm saying, even though we are being challenged, we are, you know, our movement is in more places than they can ever dream of.
Right. We agree that if they actually want to be able to understand how to preach to the people of the world, they're going to have to learn something from the Gaudiyas. We agree. But no, they seem to be wanting to do that. To some extent. I mean, they're a lot like the Jews, it seems. You know, they're kind of like when you really start studying about it, they really seem to be like the Vaishnava counterpart to the Jews in the Judeo Christian. Abrahamic is the term, Abrahamic religious.
So the Madhvas?
Yeah, they seem to be the counterpart, the Indian counterpart to at least the Vaishnava Indian counterpart to the Abrahamic religions in the West. Especially the Jews. Very, very fundamental and literal and So ultimately, I was talking to Raju about this, and he was saying, well, why bother them? Who cares if we're connected or not? We got Mahaprabhu. And I was saying, that's exactly what Bobby Kapoor said. Prabhupada brother. He said to one of our devotees that we tried to make a connection to Madhva, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They challenged that. Well, the attempt to make that connection, to connect them, this is our generosity. This is our generosity, that somehow you can be connected to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We don't need you. This is Krishna again. Who's your sampradaya? Who's the head of your sampradaya? Not Madhva, not Brahma, Krishna. Krishna's come again, 500 years ago. Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And he's taken birth in his own sampradaya. And if he wants, he can start any sampradaya. We don't need that connection. That's just try to be nice to you.
Do they accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna?
No. Madhvas don't. Sri don't. Nobody does. Only devotees. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami takes a lot of trouble. At the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 2. First of all, they don't even accept Krishna as supreme. What to speak about? The Chaitanya is Krishna. They don't accept Krishna. They accept Narayan as supreme. Krishna is an avatar.
Right.
So he goes through big trouble in the second chapter of CC to establish, as Jiva Goswami did, who is his Shiksha Guru. Krishna is Krishna's the Bhagavan Swayam. And then that same Krishna is Lord Chaitanya. That's what chapter 2 is about. Very controversial to other Vaishnavas.
Also, in our sampradayas, basically when we are either preaching to the people or communicating to them, the devotees that we take as an inspiration for our advancement in spiritual life is either Dhruva Maharaj or is Prahlad Maharaj. This type of the devotees are the devotees that we always take into consideration. As soon as we say that Krishna, is the supreme, or we don't really give big emphasis to Vishnu, then we have to throw out Prahlad Maharaj. We have to throw also Dhruva Maharaj out from our examples.
Why?
Because Dhruva Maharaj was directly worshipper of Vishnu.
Vishnu? No, that's not the controversy. They agree Vishnu is supreme.
Mm-hmm.
They don't agree Krishna is supreme.
No, but Prabhupada said Krishna or Vishnu is not different.
Yeah, Krishna and
Right.
Vishnu is non-different.
So then this becomes a topic of non-debatable situation.
But when
That's right.
when it comes to who is the supreme, we have to define it.
No, Krishna, what the Prabhupada is saying one thing, that Krishna is like
Father and mother.
home, and Vishnu is just wearing a dress and going to office. There's one explanation like that. So then who's the real person?
Yeah, the original.
Right.
Sarvakarna Karna. See? And they say that, that's very convenient. Mahaprabhu went to South India. He just happened to find this one chapter. Where's the rest of it?
Brahma
And,
Samhita.
and he just comes back with a copy of it. Great, yeah. How do we know?
I think if
And then we say, how do we know Madhva even went and saw Vyas? Who went with him? After 40 days he went to get his blessings in the Himalayas. How do we know? Why should we believe that if you don't believe that Mahaprabhu found Brahma Samhita?
I think from the same point, when we take Brahma as a person who described Krishna being the Sarvakarana Karanam, if you go back to Lord Shiva, glorification of Lord Ram as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says the same thing what Brahma says. He is the cause of all causes.
Who?
Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva describes about Lord Ram,
Where in Ramayana?
no, this is a description that comes from the Ramayana.
Yeah, in Ramayana.
In Ramayana,
Okay.
when he is having a discussion with Parvati Devi regarding a case that he is in the bank of the river crossing Lanka, and there Lord Shiva is meditating onto Ram, and Ram is meditating onto Lord Shiva, and Parvati is asking, what is this? You know?
So what does Shiva say?
Then Lord Shiva, he is describing that he is the cause of all causes.
Who?
Ram.
Ram, okay.
Okay, like in Brahma is saying.
Okay, and what does Ram say?
Sorry?
Does Ram say that about Shiva?
No, he doesn't
No,
say that.
right.
But what I'm saying is,
Right.
we are
Yeah.
talking about Vishnu, that Ram is the causes of all causes, where we accept Ram as the incarnation of Vishnu, and we accept Krishna as being the source of Vishnu. In Shiva's description,
Yeah.
he says not as a source or expansion of Vishnu, but he says he is the cause of all causes, everything comes from him. Same thing, the Brahma is making a claim in a Brahma Samhita, saying that Krishna is the cause of all causes.
Yeah.
So if we look from that point, we accept Lord Shiva as a greater authority than Brahma himself. Am I right?
We do?
Yeah, because Lord Shiva is Vaishnava and Mekha.
Well, no, not necessarily. We might accept him as a higher tattva, okay? But we don't accept him as authority for Siddhanta like we do Brahma. We're in his succession. We're not a Ruja Sampradaya.
All 12 Mahajanas
It's
are
like
authorities.
when we tell people, again in the preaching, convention.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we accept his tattva. Shiva is between Jiva and Vishnu. He's a higher tattva than Brahma, who's usually, most of the time, an empowered Jiva. Shiva's a higher tattva. He's Shiva tattva. And he's also very high Vaishnava, okay? But what I'm saying is, for the authority of Siddhanta, Brahma's our authority, because we're in his sampradaya, we're not in Shiva's sampradaya.
No, that I understand. Like, in a sense, when we are establishing, it's a fact, two sides that speaking the right track. It's not that we don't accept any of them. We accept Brahma's statement of Brahma Samhita and Lord Shiva's statement of Lord Ram. In one way, Shiva, in many places it says that Brahma can make a mistake of Krishna's identity.
Of what?
Brahma can make mistake of Krishna's identity.
Of Krishna. Where's this?
Krishna's identity, knowing about
Who says
Krishna.
Brahma can make the mistake.
How? Who
Like
says?
we know in a Brahma Vimohan Lila. That
Huh?
in Brahma Vimohan Lila.
Yeah, but Prabhupada says that's not even our Brahma. That this must have happened in another millennium. That Brahma, not our Brahma. He says in purport.
Then when you make a statement that our Brahma Bhumana Loka, is he talking about our Brahma or some other Brahma then?
In which,
Like
Brahma,
right from
the highest
point
planets
of
and
Brahma
lowest. Yeah.
to this material world.
Yeah, because those are the lokas, not Brahma, but the lokas.
The actual
Even
Brahma,
Brahma's
who is
practice
our
can be,
spiritual master,
Even Brahma
is not
like
this
that.
Brahma.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that he's not a spotless authority. And in terms of Lord Shiva again, okay, we may accept he's the highest Vaishnava. Doesn't mean we have to accept everything he says. We accept Buddha as Shaktivesh avatar. We reject what he says.
But what do, like in a sense of speaking by Lord Shiva, in a case Sadasiva. Sadasiva has been described again also in this book, Brihad Bhagavad Gita, being almost non-different from Krishna. And Brahma Samhita describing who Lord Shiva says, Thiram Yada Dadivikara is simply a transformation of milk into a yogurt. Again, it's such a high comparison of Lord Shiva. Then other side that we look is, Lord Shiva is non-different from Lord Vishnu. In many places we get that. And what he speaks is not accepted completely as the absolute. A person who is right next to Vishnu.
Yeah.
And Brahma we understand as being a Jeev Tattva.
Hey, Krishna does it too. Look what Krishna speaks in Govardhan Leela, before the Govardhan Leela. He's arguing with Nanda Maharaj.